Hello, in this video I will do an SAT practice exercise on ratios, rates, and proportions. And then these ones are somewhat easy or easier. So yeah, ratio, rates, and proportion word problems on SAT. So just note when you're dealing with ratio problems, usually uh so for example, if it says you can express a ratio as several ways. You could do A and then semicolon B. Or you could do A over B, or if they ever say uh, A to B, that's how you know it's a ratio. So ratio really just means fractions. And sometimes when you set up ratios, you usually set it up like this. You can set it up as two equal sides. And then the units you can set up any way you like, just make sure the units are the same on the right and the left. So for example, if you want this to be in feet, this has to be in feet. And then if the bottom is area, um, this other one has to be an area. So as long as this unit aligns with this one, and then this unit aligns with this one. Okay. Sometimes we won't even set it up like that. Sometimes it's just really simple, more simple. And so if you look at the first question, the sum of B pounds and 8 ounces is equal to 88 ounces. What is the value of B if 1 pound equals 16 ounces? So in this problem, we don't have to set it up as like this. But yeah, what we have to do is set it up like this. When they say the sum, it means addition. The sum of B pounds and 8 ounces. So 8 ounces equal to 88 ounces. So the sum of B pounds and 8 ounces. So that means it would be 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So it's going to be 16. And then B, we got to figure out what is the value B, which is the sum of pounds, right? So it's going to be 16B plus 8 equals 88. Right? So our final answer will have to be in, yeah, some of B pounds. So we're going to solve for B. So all we got to do is subtract 8 from both sides. So you get 16B equals to 88 minus 8, which is 80. Divide this by 16, and you get B equals to 5. Okay. So that one's pretty simple. You didn't have to set it up as a ratio, so it would be letter A. Okay. Question two. The ratio of students wearing jackets to students wearing sweatshirts is 4 to 7. If there are a total of 88 students wearing jackets and sweatshirts, how many students just wearing jackets? So you can set it up as a ratio, like this, and they give you this information, 4 to 7, or you could say 4 out of 7. The 4 represents the jackets, and then the 7 represents the sweatshirt. So I'm going to put an S for sweatshirts. But how should we set it up? Should we do jackets on the top and sweaters on the bottom? That means this would be jackets over sweater. Um, no, it sounds good at first, but the thing is there's a total of 88 students. So they're talking about a total amount. So, and they're asking you how many students were wearing jackets. So we definitely need that J here, but we're gonna have to get rid of this S, and we're gonna replace that S with total. So you have to put total here on the bottom and total there on the bottom. So yeah, if the student's wearing okay, so on 4 to 7, so 4 represent the jacket, so you can put a 4 here. Now on the bottom, are we gonna put 7? No, because 7 represents the sweatshirts. But what's the total? You just add 4 plus 7, which is 11. of the ratio. That doesn't mean they're yeah. And then over here, they're asking how many students are wearing jackets, so that's our unknown. We'll call it X, or you could call it J, whatever you like it. And then on the bottom, the total is 88 students. Okay, so go ahead and cross multiply. So 4 times 88 equals 11x. And what's 4 times 88? 352 equals 11x. And then solve for x, so you're going to divide both sides by 11, and you get 32. Question 3, a car travels 240 miles in 4 hours. At that same speed, how many total miles will the car travel in 5 hours? So in question 3 is exactly like a ratio problem. We're given 240 240 miles in 4 hours. So you could put 240 miles here in 4 hours. And then they also tell us how many total miles. So our miles is so you have to put miles here and then hours on the bottom. Do they give us any of these information? Yes. The car will travel 5 hours, so put 5 here, and then miles X there. Okay, because that's our unknown. Okay, so go ahead and solve for X by cross multiplying. So 4 times X, and then 240 times 5. So 240 times 5 is 1200. So, and then solve for X by dividing this by 4. Divide this by 4, you get 300, which is B. Okay. Question 4, if 4 ounces of paint covers 1 square foot, how many ounces of paint are needed to cover a wall by 12 feet by 10 feet? So pretend you have a wall. This is 12 feet by 10 feet, right? So we could set it up as a ratio like this. It says we could put ounces on the top. Now be careful. On the bottom, we're going to put square feet. And what is square feet? Yes, it's an area, right? So for 4 ounces, it covers 1 square feet. And then how many ounces? So over here, this is ounces, and then this is square feet. So how many ounces? Unknown. We don't know. We'll call it X. That is a wall that's 12 feet by 10. So they don't give you the area. They only tell you the measurements of these walls. So how do you find the area of that wall or a square or a rectangle? It is going to be length times width. So 12 times 10, which is 120. Okay, so this is 120 square feet. So go ahead and solve for X by cross multiplying. So 4 times 120 equals X. And then what's 4 times 120? 480. There you go. Okay, question 5. A carpet company is cutting smaller rolls of a carpet from a larger roll that measures 240 yards length. What is the number, what is the maximum number of rolls of carpet that are 12 feet in length that may be cut from the larger roll? So this one, we don't have to really set it up as a proportion. So imagine like if you're buying carpet from a warehouse, you have this huge roll, right? Now you're installing carpet and it's obviously going to be smaller. So, yeah. we're trying to figure out how many small rolls can we get from this big roll. So what you have to do is first, it measures 240 yards in length. So this length would be like 240 yards. The only problem is everything's in feet. So we got to convert that 240 yards into feet. So how do I do that? So you put feet on the bottom, yards on the bottom, and they tell you that 1 yard is 3 feet. So multiply this out. So 240 times 3 is 720. So that's 720 feet. So of this big roll, it's a total of a length of 720 feet. So all we have to do is divide this by 12. Because yeah, so that's going to be 60. Okay. Let me check and end. Here, let me review my answers. Yep. Okay, we got them all right. There's another part of this, so let me finish the last part of this. Yeah, this part right here. Okay, let's do this one. So it says it's easy, but some of these problems you have to kind of think. So on question one, a cake roll calls for 2 cups of flours and half as many cups of sugar per layer. Um, if a wedding cake will have 6 layers, how many cups of flours and sugars is total is needed? So do not, this one you don't have to set it up as a ratio. I tried setting up a ratio and it didn't give me the correct answer. So you just have to know what you're really asking. So so they're saying that for 1 layer of cake, it requires 2 cups of flour. And then for the amount of sugar, for the amount of cups of sugar, it's always going to be half of the layer, half of the amount of flour. So 0.5 cups of sugar. Okay. So yeah, that's all they, so for 1 layer, it requires 2 cups of flour. And then for the amount of sugar, it's always half of the amount of flours, right? So how much, so what they're asking you is how much cups of flours and cups of sugar to make 6 layers. So I think you just have to so for 6, you just have to multiply the 6 by 2 to get your cups. So it'd be 12 cups of flours plus how many cups of sugar? So we say that it's just half of the amount of cups of flour. So what's half of 12? 6. So it's going to cost, it will require 6 cups of sugar. So when you put it all together, what's 12 plus 6? 18. Okay. Question two. In a basket of eggs, 4 out of every 10 are brown eggs and the rest are white. Assuming all baskets have the same proportion of egg colors, how many white eggs are in 5 baskets? So this one, yeah, you don't have to set it up as a proportion if you don't want to. So they're saying um, in one basket, there are going to be there are four brown eggs, and then the rest are white, four brown eggs, and the rest are white. So that means so if there's a total of 10 eggs, four are brown, what's the rest? Six. Yes, six are white. So they're asking you how many white eggs are there in five baskets? So in five baskets, you just have to multiply the four and the six, right? So in five baskets, there's going to be what's five times four? 20. And then what's five times six? 30. They just want to know the amount of white eggs, so it's going to be 30. Okay, question three. Question three, a box of apples has five red apples and seven green apples. If each box is exactly the same, how many green apples are there in 18 boxes? So it's just like number two. You don't have to set it up as a proportion. Uh, we know you just have to know what they're asking. So one box contains five red and seven green. Okay. And for 18 boxes, all you got to do is multiply 18 by 5 and 7. So you just multiply 18 by 5 reds and 7 greens. So when you put it all together, uh, they're asking you how many green apples. So you just have to multiply 18 by 7 and you get 126 greens. Okay. Question four. Catarina drives 330 miles in 6 hours. What is their average speed in miles per hour? So Katarina drives. Okay, this one is really simple. It's just they're asking you what is her average speed in miles per hour. So that's the big clue, miles per hour. Whenever you see the word per, that means division. They're asking you miles over hour, right? So just fill in what we have. So it says we drove in 333 miles in 6 hours. And if you put that in the calculator, you get 55. You don't have your units, but that's okay. 55 miles per hour. So letter A. Okay, question five. Question five says, a square has an area of 100 centimeters square, and a square B has an area of 64 centimeters square. Which of the following is the ratio of side lengths? Which of the following is the ratio of the side lengths of square A to the side length of square B? Okay, so imagine you have two squares. So we'll call this square A, and they don't tell us the side lengths, but what do we know about a square? In a square, all sides are the same. And we also know that the area of a square is side times side. So they tell us that this particular square has an area of 100 centimeters squared, right? So what would be the side if each in a square, each sides are the same? So what number times itself twice gives you 100? 10, right? And then you have square B, um, square B, Uh, square B, the sides, the area is 64. So each side would have to be 6. I mean 8. Okay, so now we know each side of each square. So they're asking you, which of the following is the ratio? Which of the following is the ratio of the side lengths of square A? So square A has a side length of 10, and then square B has a side length of 8. But you don't see our answers because you can reduce this, right? 10 can be reduced by, I mean, they both could be reduced by 5, so this would be 5, and then 8 divided by 2 is 4. So it'd be 5 to 4. Okay, last question. The minimum length of a rugby field is 103 yards, and then the maximum is 109 meters. Approximately, what is the difference between the maximum and minimum length of the rugby? So when you see the word difference, that means subtraction. So we're asking you approximately, what is the difference between the max minus the min? So what did they say about our max? The minimum is 103 yards, so you could put 103 yards. And the maximum is 109 meters. The thing is, we kind of have to convert it. I think we have to convert it to meters because they give this hint. 1 yard is 0.9 meters. So let's convert this yard into meters. So it's 103 yards times 1 yard by 0.91 meters. So 0.3 times 103 times 0.9 is 93.73 meters, right? If you multiply 103 by 0.9, you get 93.73. So it'd be 109 meters minus 93.73. And when you do that, you get 15.27 meters. Okay, letter C. Okay, we can end where I think I already did this one, so I think it's all right. Yeah, everything's good. So we're going to stop here.